kind of as a basic overview, we're basically looking at instances of tenancy and trying to consolidate any potential duplicates through on some of these that I could, with any review, basically say there are no. So instances like where we don't have a full address, or some in here that say like undisclosed, unknown, things like law firm. I don't all of them, but some of them are going to be marked as no. So the files is going to be about 2,000 records. Some of them have very large groups. You can see some are very large, some of them are smaller. Some you can see I have missed, so you're going to have to kind of keep an eye out for that. But you're trying to, or the question you're trying to answer rather is, are these two companies at this address the same? And for the most part, it's, I think, pretty straightforward. You're going to see some garbage like this that you're going to say no to. The one thing I wanted to go through, because I'm seeing more of those in mix than we had in property review. There's some of these instances where we've got, so Denali National Trust 2 and National Trust 4. We want to make sure we're marking all of these as no, even though they're definitely in the same family. They're not necessarily the same company. And some of these, like, I think this was the one we looked earlier, RA and RJ Shiner. I'm guessing these are probably the same. And, when you Google address and one of these names, you're probably going to find that there isn't two different entities. The one other thing, and I'm seeing that there's some instances like this where you can why these got matched. We've got similar names, production services that came up. The thing you're going to see in here is some instances of thing LLC and Inc. So these are the most crucial ones that we want to make sure we are not merging. So if any of these are just going to mark them no. The majority of these you're going to end up marking as a yes. One other thing that we got to do is for ones that we are marking a no for, we'll make sure that we're denoting why it is we're marking a no, because what that basically is going to do is the team is going to go and look at the ones that we mark no and build additional rules based upon that. So things like doesn't have an address, or all of them say undisclosed, things like that. They can build logical rules. So there's two sets of rules in here. Only one of them applies to what we're doing, and they're basically sorted by M's and U's. M's means records that matched. U is records that weren't matched. All of these records were matched, so we're only populating the ones that start with M. So if name is not names, things like law firm, undisclosed, unknown, all of those, you're just going to populate that it's not a name and add those to a list for future reference. Things like these particular lines where we don't have an address, that's the second option here. For designators like the LLC and Inc. we saw down there. The fourth one here is names don't match. So that's going to be something like this one here, where basically they're going to have to adjust the link a little bit as to how these are coming about. So these are the most important ones that we want to make sure we're marking as names don't match, because they're going to look at how to characters and build some additional logic there. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. There are not going to be any, I shouldn't say that. You could potentially have some merge groups. I'm looking at these. So if you had, let's say, two XIs and the rest were not matches, for those you're going to say yes, and then just some kind of common denoter. So what we're going to do is you could just use the common name for both of them. If that was the case, just note the same name, and that should be sufficient. Review, if you want to add notes, that's what this column's for. We haven't really been doing that, but that's what it's there for if you want to reference anything. I think that's basically it. Does anybody have any questions?
I just want to clarify. I mean, so we're only notating a no. Unless it needs to be merged, then we'll put the yes. But otherwise, it should just be left blank.
Are you asking, should you only populate a no?
Yeah. So you have the no's populated, and then you said for the one that needed to be merged, then you would place I for yes.
I would say the vast majority of these are going to be Y's, probably more than 90%. I think the last time we were around 95%. So you guys can do one of two things, which is only, go through this and only populate no's, and maybe at the very end filter for blanks and populate a Y for all those. Or if you just want to populate a no, you can do that too. I kind of like having all of them populated because it lets me know that you guys, you got the whole thing. Yeah.
Okay.
But it was easier. I mean, the thing, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to go through 9% of this and just keep saying Y. Unless you do it. When I've done this in the past, I normally just drop the cap lock on and just kind of scroll down and do this. It's kind of up to each of you to go about doing that.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. So we have 10 files in total, and I think 5 people on call. So I'm going to send you guys each 5 files. I think you're going to find that this is going to go pretty quickly. And if we're done maybe by end of day Wednesday at the latest, that'd be good. I think it's probably do a couple hundred of these in an hour. The vast majority of them aren't really going to take any. It's basically just reviewing these. And the thing that's going to occupy the most time is when you get to ones where they're a little off, depending if they actually are or no, and then adding the reason why they're not. So, all right, I'll have these across shortly. If anybody has any questions, let me know, and I'm going to send this recording out too if anybody needs to reference it. Thank you all.
Thanks.